Keisha, you've been with us now for 2 years, and it has been quite the journey getting to know you and getting to love you over these 2 years.
Oh, same here.
You are definitely a special person to us at the Fashion Lab, and I want to take the opportunity to tell you thank you for just taking some time to chit chat with me about what your the Fashion Lab experience has been like, because I'm sure there are many people out there that would love to hear your thoughts and opinion going through the program. So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So let us talk about your journey. I kind of want to spend some time talking about what was going through your mind before you even started Le Fashion Lab. Can you share some of that with us?
Yes. So before I reached out to you actually to inquire about the program, it had been in the back of my mind that I wanted to kind of just re-up my skill set, because at this point I had been out of school for a long time. So, and I hadn't really I've been doing my business on the side, but it was like, draping was kind of my comfort zone. Pattern making, I would form my patterns off of me draping. And I was like, there has to be an easier process than this. And of course I learned it in school, but that was a long time ago. And being in this industry, I'm on the wholesale side of it. I've been doing this for 18 years. So it's like, if you don't use the practice on a daily basis, you lose some of that skill set. So that was one of the things I'm like, okay, I need to re-up my abilities. And I had been working with my mentor on and off, just on learning different techniques, but it was never, it wasn't a true like teacher student. It was kind of, hey, I'm working on this, come over and watch, whenever I could. So I wanted something more consistent, because for me, the practicing would make it stick. So when I came across the Fashion Lab on social media, I got excited. It was like, wait a minute, I've never heard of this place. What kind of school is this? And then when I reached out to you and found out that you had like weekend programs, for my schedule, it was perfect because I travel so much. So I was excited to be able to have the opportunity to kind of get back in and relearn some of the things that I had learned before, and to kind of, things that you think it was like a reset for that as well. So it was good.
Got it. Yes, I remember when we first spoke, and I was very skeptical because
yes, you drilled me like a sergeant.
Because
like, why?
I have this person who I already saw as a talented designer with your own brand, and you told me that you already had a degree in fashion design. And typically, most of the students that come to us are kind of fresh or almost completely fresh. So I was like, are you sure this is what you really need? So yeah, I just wasn't sure we were what you needed. And tell me a little more about why you even thought that you needed more after having gone through an entire fashion program already.
So I had the opportunity to try out for Project Runway. And I'm watching the, previous seasons and like the things that they're having to do. And I'm like, okay, if I am able to get on this show and I'm in this environment, am I going to remember all of these things that I learned 20 something years ago? And although I had been doing, my business on the side, it wasn't a full-time thing because I had my full-time job. So I was, the self-doubt starts to come in like, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this? I felt like I had the talent, but being able to execute something from start to finish, like simple things like putting in a zipper. I would finish a project and literally bring it to my mentor like, okay, here, can you put the zipper in for me? Done. Everything is done except for the zipper, only because I had psyched myself out not to be able to do it. So little things like that, I'm like, okay, I can't get on this show and not be able to put a stupid zipper in a pair of pants or a dress. So like that was one of the things I started to like freak myself out in a sense. And so the only way to combat this is to re-up your skill set. That's it, you know. And I remember talking to you and you're like, but why? And then I would answer you and then you'd ask me again, but why? And I'm like, listen, I just want, at the end of it all, I just want it to be better. Even, yes, Project Runway would have been the ultimate goal, but for myself, I just want it to be better. And even like, that's something like you and Miss Marva, even Gayla, like, you guys have to practice, you know, you guys would preach to us, like, you have to practice, you have to practice. And that's, I had been rusty because I would do stuff for, you know, clients every once in a while, or I would make things, you know, for the Beehive where I have my things, but it wasn't to a degree where you would look at, to me, I would say to me at the time, it wasn't something that I felt like I was this big time high designer, you know, and that's what my ultimate goal was, to be able to compete on that level.
Got it, got it. Okay, so that was what was going through your mind before you started Le Fashion Lab, and then you decided, yes, you were a great fit for Le Fashion Lab and you should start the program. As you went through the program, how did your perspective, your knowledge, or your skills change as time went by? Maybe starting in the beginning and then moving forward to the middle.
I would say, for instance, when I started with your sketching class. So that was one thing. I had not picked up a sketchbook in a lot of years. So being able to sit down and things starting to come back to you, because I thought I was going to have to completely start over. And it was like riding a bicycle in a sense, riding a bicycle. Like you might kind of stumble a little bit, but then you get the hang of it because you don't forget. And you were able to pull things out of me that maybe were like deep down in there, or I didn't realize I had the ability to do. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of refreshing to me. It was very exciting. I would say even getting towards the end of the semester, like when we had to like start putting our presentations together of what we were gonna do, just even fathom the thought of doing a whole collection in a span of time. So you put yourself in this, all right, you have 6 weeks, you know, and then you think you have all this time, but then it starts to get down to it and, you know, you still have patterns to do, you still have this to do. So even that was like, okay, time management, learning that too, because I had that with my job. I have to be able to manage my time in the sense of I handle everything for my area. So translating that into a classroom setting, having all those skill sets come back, you know, it definitely, I don't know if I was expecting that. For it to be in that, it was just a different situation, you know, taking myself out of work, putting myself in the classroom. It was the same thing ultimately, but it was connecting the two things, I would say.
Connecting what two things?
Connecting the everyday 9 to 5, the same, I guess the same mindset that I would take on task for work. Mm-hmm. I had to then shift that also to the classroom. And I wasn't anticipating it being so, the parallels being the same. You know, you're applying the same skill set, essentially. It's just a different environment. So it was just the shifting.
Because I think I get what you're saying. One of the things that's particularly impressive about you is your work ethic and your drive. So like, even though you have a very demanding 9 to 5, that didn't stop you from practicing outside of class and always having your projects done on time. So is that what you mean? Like you take that same kind of drive and that grit and bring it with you as a student?
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense. So tell me a little bit more about the process of sketching before designing and how that helps.
There was not a process before school. I literally would start draping on the mannequin and I'd have an idea of something and it may be that at the end of it, or it may be something completely different. With sketching, even if you sketch 15 things, it's still, you're taking different pieces of each design and you're moving it into the next to make it your final thing. I find now that this one, sketching is therapeutic, and I didn't think that I'd never thought that would be a thing, but it really is. It's very relaxing. It's almost meditative. But then seeing different, you can mess up on one thing and then it comes out to be something else. But then when you finally come down to that one little sketch, it's like, okay, now let me execute this on the mannequin. And it's almost like it cuts down some steps. Instead of with the mannequin and you're draping, you're trying to figure it out as you go. But when you have the sketch, that's like your outline. And you're using that to then be able to translate it into the final thing. So it ends up saving a lot of steps. And then you have a plethora of sketches that you can still kind of play with and like, okay, I didn't like that I did that, but let me try moving that to this design and see if it works better. So then it all comes together, and then you still have something to reference that could maybe be its own separate collection later on.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I still love draping, don't get me wrong, but it's like now that I've been doing the sketching first, it definitely saves me some time and frustration for sure.
That's great to hear. Yeah, always refer to sketching kind of as the planning before you actually get the collection done. And it is a quick way and therapeutic way of being able to make sure that your collection is cohesive. You know, because when you just dive in and you start draping different pieces, you don't know if you have a connecting thread throughout the entire collection, so it doesn't look as put together. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad that you found that to be your experience as well. So is there anything, as you went through Le Fashion Lab, is there anything that was unexpected? Something that as you went through it, you just didn't really expect that it would be that way, but anything at all?
It's gonna be a weird answer, but I would say my relationships that I formed there.
Okay.
I have, even now, like, when I think of my relationship with you and Miss Marva, Gayla, even Rushika, and my Saturday classmates. I still talk to Courtney. I still talk to Lauren. Just the bond that we shared in that 9 to 3 space. It's friendships that I think I'm gonna have long, continued. And I wasn't expecting that. At my age, you have your core friends. And I think I'm a very friendly person and I love to talk to people, but having a connection with people so late and later on in life at this stage, you don't really anticipate that. You can be friendly with people and you can, be familiar with them, but like the connection that I feel that I have with some of you I wasn't anticipating that. I was like, I'm gonna go to class, I'm gonna do my work, go home. But that did not happen. I feel like we all know more about each other than we probably would like to know. But you guys are my family. You're my school family. So I'm very appreciative of that. That was definitely unexpected.
Good, okay, all right. As you went through the program, did you face any frustrations or any challenges?
Yes, the frustrations that I think twofold, financially, because at the time my daughter was also in college and I was responsible for that. And then trying to maneuver my way to take care of my responsibilities to make sure that I could be, in class. Then also managing a full-time schedule with the addition of having to travel 2 weeks out of each month and still being able to make sure that I had my schoolwork done for Miss Marva's class, because you know she's going to ask you, did you practice this week? How much time did you spend this week outside of class? And it really is, it's not just those, 6 hours? It's not just those 6 hours. You really have to, this is where time management comes into play, because if you don't do the follow-up, if you didn't finish something in class and you don't take it home and try to play with it and work with it, you're the one that suffers, because then one, you don't remember what you did because it was a week ago. And then two, you fall behind, and it's a short window of time. And in my mind, always, I would just say, this is your investment. This is your investment in yourself. Let's not waste it. And I would see, not necessarily people in my class, but I would see things, observing, because we're sharing the classroom. Like, some people would take it seriously, some people wouldn't. And I'm like, okay, well, they must have money to waste, because, yeah. Or you just like wasting, you want to be here on Saturday because you have nothing else to do. So in my mind, I was like, I'm not playing. I'm committing to this. This is a privilege to even be here, because drill sergeant over there almost almost shut it down. But this is an opportunity for you to be better. And that's how I always thought of it. Like, regardless if you're tired, regardless if you were, a lot of times I would literally be driving back from a work trip, and deadheading home to have to be at class the next morning. So to me, it was just, the frustration came in with wishing there were more hours in the day, and wishing that I wish I could just go to school. Like, I wish I didn't have to work. I wish I could just go to school and learn what I need to learn. So, for anyone else coming into the program, we all have things outside of what we're going to commit to with class, right? But you have to decide, and this is what, for me, I would say this is what I did. I decided that this was what I wanted, and I had to prove to myself, because I was Jedi mind tricking myself on all levels, as far as ability and whether or not I'd be able to complete this. I committed to finishing, and every time I was too tired or I didn't feel like it, I reminded myself of that. I'm committed.
Yeah. So basically, we can't really wait for an opportunity to have all of this free time where we can do it. Oh. Yeah. So even in the midst of having so many things outside of class going on, it can still be done, and you're proof of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So did you face any triumphs or victories along the way? Or did you have
I learned how to put a zipper in by myself. I completed a whole collection. Well, 3 pieces. Well, 3 styles.
Yeah,
I completed a collection that, to me, I feel is worthy. It's something that could have been in a magazine.
It's beautiful.
I got to do a fashion show at the Fashion Lab. That was major. Yeah, I mean, just everything that I've learned to be able to function now outside of class, I think is a triumph. I finished. I finished in the 2 years. I finished in the 2 years. And that was the other thing. I was like, I don't want to have to draw this out. I don't know that I have the stamina, but I'm going to finish in 2 years. And I did. So to me, in itself, that's a triumph.
That's it. Yes. And remember too, you still have more beautiful sketches that you did for that collection that you could bring to life now, even after, we're still.
And I've been doing quite a bit more since school. I moved, a lot of things have happened since I graduated. But the sketching, at least, I feel like I'm still applying. I actually went up to the school a couple weeks ago and worked for a few hours in the space, and that felt good. I told Miss Marva, whenever I can, I'm going to come up there, because it's like, I mean, I have a workspace now, I used to work in my closet. I had this big closet at my old house, and it was like half clothes, machine, mannequins in this tight space. I felt like I was in a New York City studio apartment. But now I have space to work, but it's nice to be back in there because then I feel like I'm the student again. You're forever learning,
Yeah.
right? So it's good to have the ability to be able to, you know, go in every once in a while and submerge myself in just, all right, let me focus. And you have more space, you know, you have the big tables. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for what's coming for sure.
Got it. Yes, I'm excited for you as well. So for anybody listening, about how many hours per week did you spend practicing outside of class? And you were in the 2-year weekend program. So about how many hours would you say?
I would say on a week, say for instance, I wasn't traveling, I would say about maybe 12 to 15 hours extra. Because I would literally be trying to do something each evening when I wasn't traveling. On the weeks that I did travel, it would probably be like maybe 5 to 6 hours. And that would be either the Saturday evening after class or all day Sunday. Or just trying to mix it up. Sunday would be my day, you know, on a travel week because that was my free time. So, you know, it could be anywhere from, all right, let me practice these pockets. That was, oh, and I learned how to put pockets in. That was another thing.
Yeah, that was a big thing for you. Yeah.
That was a big thing. But yeah, I would say anywhere from maybe 6 to 15 hours, just depending on my travel schedule. And like I said, there would be times I'd wish that like I didn't have to go to work so that I could do that. Any time off that I would have, I would try to be working on school stuff.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, I think I already asked you some of the exciting things that you learned and accomplished. So let me just move on to the next question. What were some of your favorite subjects or classes?
I thought about this. So the illustration classes, definitely, but fabric manipulation was hands down my favorite. I mean, I know you know, but like my thing, I love like minor details on things. That's my aesthetic. I like to put a little spin on simple things. And that class kind of opened Pandora's box for me. Because some things that I learned by accident, like trial and error. Mm-hmm. But being able to take something so simple and you're adding a pin tuck to it or a dart here or, you know, just playing with something simple and making it look like it's high end, that was exciting to me. And I still kind of practice that now. Like my books are in storage right now, but that's something, even Gayla sent me something not too long ago of it's something on social media, like a sewing, what do you call it, account. And then they just show you different techniques. And I had to message her back. I'm like, oh my God, I just saved like 20 things because they show you cool ways to do simple things that make your garment look high end and finished. Because that's one thing I love all my things to be clean, whether if it's serging on the inside or you're doing a French seam on something. I just like everything to look clean. And that class kind of showed me that I could do so many things with something simple.
Got it. Okay. All right. Okay, so before you came into the program, you definitely had skills because like we mentioned before, you had a whole fashion degree. But you did mention to me before you started that there were some that were not as strong as you would have liked. So I'm going to ask you specific skill sets and you compare how you were feeling then to how you feel now that you've completed the program, okay?
Okay.
The first one is, how do you feel now about your fine sewing techniques like putting in your zippers and finishing garments professionally?
I think initially I said a 5. I feel I'm about like an 8.5 right now, 8.5, 9.
Out of 10. Okay, good. All right. And making patterns from scratch, not
Whew.
the draping method. Yeah.
Miss Marva would probably pinch me. That I still struggle with, and that I am spending more time on because I don't want to lose that. That was probably the most challenging part of the course for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I'm maybe a 7.5, which
Okay.
is still an improvement from where I was.
And where were you again? Do you remember?
I think I said I told you a 5 on that too initially.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And draping to make your patterns, you are always confident in.
Yeah.
Good.
I feel like I'm a probably 9, 10 on that. That's my comfort zone.
Okay. And how about your fashion sketching and illustration?
I'm definitely not like Veronica or Rishika, but I feel that I'm an 8. You know, you can definitely look at my sketches now and tell clearly where I'm going or what kind of fabrications I'm thinking about using for it. I feel I'm about an 8 now.
Okay, and how were you feeling before?
Being that I hadn't done it in 20 years, I probably was also at a 5.
Okay. All right. And how about putting together a fashion portfolio, like coming from the concept, the colors, the fabric?
9.5. Yeah, 9.5. I feel like presentation wise, I say in my next lifetime, I'm going to be a creative director of something. Because visually, I always know what it is I'm looking for, and putting it together like that's not work to me, if that makes sense. Like I know what I like and I know how to talk through it. And I guess that's also my merchandising background. So I feel very confident as far as putting that together. Now, whether using like Photoshop and all of that, if that's part of it, then that kind of knocks me down maybe to about an 8.5 because I haven't been practicing that as much as I should be. But if that's included in it, then maybe an 8.5. If it's not, then I'm a 9.5.
Okay. And how were you feeling about it before?
Oh my God, I knew nothing.
Okay.
I knew nothing about like the program itself, like Adobe or Illustrator. I didn't. I knew of it, but I didn't know how to use it. And there are times which I thought very helpful. We recorded the classes. So there were times where that, I would say my hours of investment as far as additional hours outside of class, that increased because I literally would go back and watch the videos and pause, write my notes down, then do what it was that you were trying to show us to do in the video. And I have all of those saved now too, to go back and refresh because there's so many things, there's so many apps now that are out there that kind of rival that may be a little bit easier. As a matter of fact, I had somebody ask me to do some line sheets for them the other day. A friend of mine who started her own fashion brand. And we were messaging each other and I was like, yeah, it's pretty easy. You just have to do this. And before I realized, I'm like, wait, well, yeah, it is easy because I had the experience to do it. And then she asked me, well, okay, well, can you do it for me? And I was like, oh, what did I get myself into? And I had to talk myself back down like, no, you got this. And sure enough, I sent it to her in a day and a half. She loved it. And that's what she's using now to send to her buyers. She paid me for it. So, and even that felt kind of weird to receive money for something. Because I like helping people, even if it's something even as giving information to people about what it is that I do or how they can go about doing something. It's just information. I mean, on a regular day, you could Google it, like I just feel weird charging people, but my best friend is always in my head, like, listen, this is an extra form of income.
Yeah.
this is your time. This is
this is your
you start
time, your
valuing yourself that
efforts, your
way.
skills. Yeah, and that's what people pay for, your time and your skills, you know. And some people would rather you just do it for them. So they don't mind paying you for it, you know. It's a benefit
Yeah.
to them too. I'm glad
So
that
even
that
that opens up another door, because I never thought that I would ever do that. I mean, and even though I felt like I might have bitten off more than I could chew, I powered through it and I did it, you know. And there were a couple of changes that she wanted, um, but not necessarily with how I put it together. She had left off some images. So even that, I was like, okay, she was happy with, because she just gave me the pictures. Initially gave me some of the pictures, and I started to kind of plug away and then move things around how I thought it flowed better. And even that she appreciated. So it kind of opened up another, like, maybe possible income stream for me going forward. You know, I'm always thinking of ways where I don't have to go punch a clock for anybody else. So that has been a great advantage in learning that.
Good, good. I'm happy. Yeah, you really put your effort into that class, because as I've said before, Adobe Illustrator is not the easiest thing to learn, and it takes a lot of outside of class practice for it to stick. But it's like once you've got it, you've got it, you know?
Yeah, because even the other, like 2 weeks ago, I pulled it up again on the computer and I was doing something and I was like, okay, it started to slowly come back to me. And then I went back to the videos to try to kind of fast forward through the part where I was having the struggle. And that's the thing, that would be my advice, to take good notes, because that was one of the other things, even in Miss Marba's class, because she kind of talks you through and she goes through step by step with you. But even I would pull out my video camera, you know, my phone, and start recording things sometimes, because you can write it down, but like if you see it, I'm a visual person. So seeing it and being able to play something back over and over again, or play it back and like pause, okay, let me do that part. And then, all right, let's go. And then let me do that part. That helps it stick for me. I don't know, you know, everyone's process is different, but being able to visually go back and reference it if you don't have physical notes definitely is a lifesaver.
Yeah, other people have said the same thing too, wishing that they'd taken more notes in the beginning so that, you know, later on it would be there to help them. And it's true, video recording is very helpful, because sometimes if you handwrite a note and it says so left seam to right seam, then flip 2/3.
You don't know what that is.
What does
I can't even understand my own handwriting. Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, good. That's good advice. So just a simple question, but an important question. Are you happy with the skills that you gained at the Fashion Lab?
Absolutely. It definitely, you know, going back to the financial commitment and the time commitment, I have no regrets. I'm glad that I'm glad that I committed to it, because what I wanted was to increase my skill set, and I've come out of it with just that. And I'm still learning things. I still reach out. And that's one thing that you guys are great about. It's not like, okay, you graduated, get out. Don't come back. You know, you guys really stand behind, here for you. And it's up to the student really to take advantage of that. And that goes back to the relationships that you form. And even that's up to you. You know, I wasn't anticipating, I mean, of course, I was gonna come in and be friendly, and you know, you want it to be a good environment, because it's a small community. You want it to be a good environment. You don't want to not get along with someone. But I wasn't anticipating the connection that I formed with everyone, and even now being able to pick up the phone and text Miss Marvin, like, hey, you know, ask her whatever I have to ask her, or ask you something, you know. It's a good feeling. It's been October, so that's 6 months now. Is that 6 months? Yeah.
Already?
Almost. Yeah, it's been a while, and even just being up there the other day, I was like, oh, I'm gonna come here more often. You know, even though I was by myself, it was just, you know, it was a good feeling. And it's up to the individual to take, it's easy to come out of there and like, okay, I'm done. But if you have the goal in mind, like I said I wanted to be able to be in a situation and create something without feeling anxious. You know, like, oh my God, can I do this? Can I finish this? Do I have to go pay someone to put a zipper in for me? Like things like that is what I had put myself through before. So now it's like, okay, you know, I may have a question or two, but the confidence that I gained being there, the skill set that enhanced from being there was totally worth it. I wish I could still be in school right now, just someone else paying for it actually. Just someone else pay for it and I'll just go.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's still, that was one thing that I felt like there was still more that I wanted to learn, you know, and both Miss Marvin and Gayla said, you know, there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something that you don't know, but there's access. You have access, you know, and that's been key.
Yeah, no matter how long you're in this industry and how much of an expert you become, there's always something to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like enjoying the process of learning rather than beating yourself up for what you don't know.
Yes, and that was, you know, on a personal level, like I feel like I've matured a lot, just in, you know, things that I doubted myself in, or how I handle situations. Um, I'm always going to be emotional, I feel, you know, that's just and even that, owning up to that and being okay with the fact that, you know, if something touches me, then I can be emotional about it. But just there was so much growth there, and you guys allowed the room for that, you know, so I'm going to be forever grateful for sure.
Thank you, Keisha. All right. Is there, kind of to wrap up now, the three last questions, is there anything you wish you'd known before you joined Le Fashion Lab?
I wish I had known that it existed way before I found it. Yeah, that would be what I would say.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. And what would you say to any prospects interested in Le Fashion Lab?
What I would say is, if this is something that you see yourself doing as a career, more than just learning how to complete a garment or something, if this is something that you truly want to be immersed in as a career, that it is a great environment to foster and begin that process. And you are only going to get out of it what you put in, period. If you just show up to class and you're half-stepping it, you're doing yourself a disservice. The one thing that I loved is that, well, I know that you may be changing the format going forward with the accreditation and everything, but like for us, you were your accountability person. If you didn't do something, that's on you, you know, and that would cause you to struggle. So if you're willing to commit to the process and forget everything that you think you know, being able to go in there with a clean slate, like wipe your mind clean, and being able to intake everything that the professionals are teaching you and receive that and practice, put it to practice, you're going to do great in the program.
Yeah, that's something you are very good at too, because having come to us with prior knowledge, there was no time when you allowed your ego to get in the way. You truly had like a humble student type mindset, and when you come with that kind of mindset, you get more out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, I'm there to learn, right? So if I come in there and I already think I know everything, well, why am I here?
Yeah.
So it's literally wiping out everything you think you know and walking into it with an open mind, and more than anything, just putting in the work.
Yeah. And just this is the last question now. Who would you say is an ideal Le Fashion Lab candidate? What traits should this person have?
Anyone who has a creative side and a desire to be in the industry, one would be an ideal candidate, but then because it is the environment that it is, it's small. It gives you the more one-on-one time, but you have to be driven a little bit. Like, yeah, even if you just have a smidge of it, you have to be driven because, you know, you guys are not going to be at home with the student all the time, or not ever. You're not, unless it's on Zoom. You're not going to be like, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do this? You have to be accountable and you have to be ready. Again, I hate to sound repetitive, but you have to want to work. You have to want to work. And, you know, there's a lot of creative people out there, you know, they're doing different things. If you have that side, you definitely will, it will pull more out of you in the program, but you have to put in the work.
That's it. Keisha, thanks for your words of wisdom and for spending time with me reflecting on your Le Fashion Lab journey. Not to sound cliche, but being really honest about it, you're now permanently a part of the family. And it's been our pleasure to get to know you. And I know that you will continue to be with us even now that you've graduated.
Yes, you can. I told you guys before, you can't get rid of me.
And we're good with that.
Good.
All right. So
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. And I mean, you guys, I'm not just saying this, it's a great program. I know this is part of the process to engage more students in, but this is like I wish I had found you guys earlier on. I really do, because, but everything happened. I know everything happens for a reason and everything in its time. You know, maybe if I had started before, I wouldn't have been able to do some of the things that I was able to do in the class. But hands down, I have no regrets about how stressful it got at times because of my work schedule. It was totally worth it to me. And like I said, anybody wanting to come into the program, you just have to have the desire and the drive. You know, those two things I think will take you far. So for anyone that's coming in, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't come into it with any preconceived ideas. Just come into it and just be open to the process, because that's when you're going to get the most out of it, for sure.
Got it. Well, thank you, Keisha.
You're welcome.